Hello everyone, I am messing around with the camera again so I can introduce you to all of my little folklore rabbits. I'll start with this one over here. This is the one I made first, and he is a jackalope, probably the one you're most familiar with. Jackalopes are from North America, particularly the western United States, and they're supposed to be a jackrabbit with antelope or pronghorn horns. But the most popular image of them is actually a rabbit with stag's antlers, so that is what I've gone for here. You can tell that I've made him out of slightly less high quality felt than the siblings, and I was still figuring out how exactly to do the nose and the eyes. But he's my first, so I'm very fond of him. Jackalopes are actually seen as fearsome critters, which are folkloric creatures that sprung up in America in the late early 1900s as French, German, and English and other European colonizers mingled and applied folklore from back home to their new environment. Jackalopes are actually pretty, fond or interested in humans, according to their folklore. They are often heard whistling or singing or mimicking human voices when humans are making noise, which are probably part of the stories to freak each other out around the campfire. So they're actually quite fond of humans, much more fond of humans than their cousins from Bavaria, Germany. The wolpertinger. This is the second one I made. You can see this one's a lot more elaborate. Oh, please don't attack each other. Play nice. The wolpertinger is much more of a chimeric creature. They consist of different parts of all kinds of animals. The most common version is the body of a squirrel, horns or antlers of a deer, and the wings of a pheasant or a duck. They're often also described as having fangs, but I decided to not put myself through the trouble of trying to embroider those. But I did give him a good, bushy squirrel tail. And gorgeous little wings. I'm so happy with these wings. My friend Azura helped me design them, by which I mean they drew them for me and I figured out how to embroider them. And because wolpertinger are usually described as a bit more wild and feral, I just gave them a really gnarly, big set of antlers again. There's a little wire in this so I can turn them the way I want them. Wolpertingers are supposed to be pretty dangerous, and but still shy of humans. They don't like going near humans, and there actually are some stories about how to catch them. For instance, with candlelight or looking for them by moonlight. They seem to be originating from the 1800s. Now this one over here, I made smaller than the rest. And a little paler, because this is a little rasselbock. Rasselbock is basically the German jackalope. It's supposed to be a hare with roe deer's antlers. You can see that this one has much more modest antler situation than the other two. A rasselbock actually means, rassel means rattle, and bock is the name for billy goat. And the fun thing about this one is actually that we also have recorded in folklore that the female version of this is called a rasselgeiss, which is a rassel goat, and that the babies are called waldrasslingen, which is basically forest rattlings, which I think is adorable. Forest rattlings is an adorable name for a baby rabbit. They're shy creatures. They can be quite dangerous when they defend themselves with their antlers. There are very little. The stories are mostly about people seeing them, not about hunting them or catching them. which is indicative of them being slightly calmer, older folklore. Just these creatures are around in the forest sometimes. Their much smaller antlers and less wild appearance make them much closer to the horned rabbits that show up in late medieval manuscripts by various West European authors. And I'm inclined to believe that these little guys are basically the original when it comes to horned rabbits in Western Europe. Because the concept of a horned or antlered rabbit is actually much more widespread. Definitely also spread around the Middle East. There's Persian manuscripts where they are described in. But I'm pretty sure that stories about this little guy were taken to the extreme in Bavaria and traveled all the way to America to make our little jackalope. And I may be a little bit biased because this is the one I made last, so it's clearly the prettiest. I finally figured out I should just embroider the eyes and not fuss about with little beads. So this is my little menagerie.